This is the as you know, Sunday was the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Mm-hmm.
There it is from Bush.
Wow.
I have it. Yeah, I you know, it's what I do. It's what I'm good at. Fighting for people. In Congress, I get to fight for everybody. That's the difference. So, you know, I'm proud about that. I'm proud about all this work. And I even got it from this guy too.
Yeah, I see that.
When you're good, you're
Both
just
sides of
good.
the aisle, huh?
You know, I mean, I could work with anybody. I'll work with Democrats because we're all Americans. Everybody's, it's crazy time right now. Very stupid behavior. It's not adult. They're so immature. I'm watching this stuff on TV. It's a joke. It's serious for me and you. We in trouble. We're facing very challenging times. And if we elect somebody that doesn't have us in their best interest, we're screwed. Bottom line. Bottom line. We can't send any more of these folks to go there and line their pockets. You know, I'm not going to stay there long. I'm in and I'm out. I'm going to do the work that I know what to do. And then I'm going to leave and say goodbye. And that's it. I mean, I put those platform terms out. I'm not looking to make a career out of this. This is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight for my country like my family did, 7 generations. I'm going to spend a little time there. I'm going to solve our water problem. I'm going to fix the healthcare. I'm going to give the president the information he needs. You know, he's a good guy. Whatever they say about, he's got a snappy attitude, but he's very good to people. He's very good. He's really a good guy, a good man. I could say that with total belief, and that, you know, he may have a few character flaws, but who doesn't?
Sure.
You know? So, I mean, you know, he's trying to do the right thing by the country. I gave information to the governor. He didn't listen. And people died as a result of it. It was common sense. You don't got to be a rocket scientist. You just got to be open to what the people are saying, consider it, weigh the evidence, and do it. If it makes sense, we do it. Why is that so hard for people to understand?
Well, Darren, I wanted to just, you know, kind of start. I had a bunch of the questions I listed down there.
Okay, let's go. Let's do it.
First one off the bat was because it's the theme of our interview series is what's in your cup was the theme. So what's your drink of choice?
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, all right.
I loved it as a kid. I get these because I bought them in the machine for $0.10. So
I was going to say, it's been a while since I've seen a glass bottle.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's my favorite. The cans taste horrible. The bottle, I remember as a kid just getting it.
Sure. Awesome. Well, so Darren, first question I was going to ask is a little bit about your background. You know, I know you're from New York originally, so, you know, talk about your history, how you came to Florida, and, you know, why you want to represent the 19th District. Okay, a
little about my history.
Yeah.
For 35 years, well, how I got that picture. I'm a Reagan memo, one of the famous memos that you read about and heard about. I was that young man at 23 years old. I was born with a disability, but to add insult to injury, I had a car accident. And that limited me, and I had a newborn child. I didn't want a handout. I didn't want welfare. I wanted to work still. And I sent a letter to him telling him I'd sweep the floor. Needless to say, he didn't answer the first letter. It was 15 pages. I discovered mailgrams that it goes right up in the White House. And the president, I learned later, that he would walk around the White House at night and he would check messages. He found mine and he ordered his staff to call me. He put a memo on everyone's desk. I want this problem solved. He was moved by my letter and the words. When I tell this story, I get very emotional because it's my first real contact with politics. I was a young father, grew up in the streets of New York. Politics wasn't on my agenda. How I'm going to feed my child and give them an education, what was on my mind. But needless to say, the phone calls came. I heard from every cabinet member. The president wants to know how he can help. And the person, because I said to the president in the mailgram, I thought you would answer me. I believed you. You lied to me. I would die for my country. Doesn't my country care about me? Well, that ruffled a lot of feathers. And let me tell you, help came in from the White House like you've never seen. So, because there's so much to tell you, that being said, there is a whole story on the website. And if you Google my bio, you'll see that. And needless to say, his help for me made me inspired that I understand how to navigate through. I'm going to help others like me. And needless to say, I changed policy. And in 1990, my other hero, George H.W. Bush, started to follow the lead. And in 1990, we had the Americans with Disabilities Act, but it wasn't over. What we found out is that there were clarifications in the DOJ's handbook, which tells what's the law, what's not the law, and how do we protect individuals. I had to teach myself civil rights law. I'm dyslexic, as I shared with you. I'm not ashamed of it. And thank you for sending the questions. I learned how to do it. You know, I could do it at my pace, but to go to college, I couldn't go because they didn't give you that opportunity. I fought for that. And now they give you tapes and recordings and time. I started to fight for the things that would have made me have the same opportunity as you had without a disability. And the DOJ listened. The president was listening. And presidents after him, GW, good friend. And you see the personal letters. Good job, Darren. Good job. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, same thing. On behalf of the country, Darren. People ask me, are you a faithful Christian? Yes, I pray for my government leaders. I know that I'm created. I'm endowed by my creator. So I have to pray for my creation. I prayed for Sandra Day O'Connor. I faxed it to her. Not everybody has the fax, but the marshals, because I'm the national chief advocate for disabled police, firemen, and veterans. When that fax went, I got a letter back and I have it. You know, if one day you want to come and see it, I'll show it to you. And she signed it as Sandra Day O'Connor because she was talking to me as a citizen on the stationery. Thank you for that lovely prayer and those kind wishes. And along with it came a photo for Darren. That was great. That's great stuff. You got to love that. Mm-hmm. So this led up to me throughout the years. And the justices told me when Sotomayor sent for me and I went to the chamber and sat with her for a half hour, she took the photos online. She had her photographer take the photo, and then she gave me a photo and said, please don't use it when you campaign. And I don't do it because no means no. And we have to learn, everybody's listening, we must follow the rules. Following the rules is important. So she sent that to me. She said, the ADA, it's the why we challenge it so much. It's unclear. I said, Madam Justice, it's not unclear. Accommodate, facilitate, warranted. Warranted means the condition dictates the accommodation. Clearly, we can't understand every condition. So it has to be judged by that. But lawyers convolute it because it's about money for them and they don't see the need that you have. So why am I running for Congress? Because it's unclear what the entitlement is. The right number of disabled Americans in the country is 150 million, half the country. In New York State alone, you got over 9 million people. Now, are there some fakers in there? Yes. What would the percentage be? Maybe 3%? Fakers that slip through? It's hard to keep a track on everything, but the things that matter most are not. We have to put things in place. I am skilled. I'm called by the Supreme Court and lower courts as a lay expert. What made me a lay expert? The study and the practice of helping people get disabilities and knowing all their disabilities and advocating for them. So you get to see it through 35 years, and then you learn how to present yourself. I had better training than any of the candidates. You have one that's saying she's a lawyer. She just became a lawyer 1 month. When I did my first case, she was a gleam in her father's eye. And I fought, and I made it to the Supreme Court on a pro se motion. The clerk of the court congratulated me because of my dyslexia. I had people help me. I dictated the words of how it should be. You know, so there are challenges. And here's my biggest issue, homeless veterans. I come from a family of 7 generations. I have wealthy family members. I didn't seek them. The creator and founder of Arizona Iced Tea, the famous Rayo's restaurant, the sauce that everybody loves. I didn't go to them, but they supported me because I'm their cousin. And my mission is clear for 35 years. I've never abandoned anyone. Everybody has errors in their life. But what we're seeing today, the politics today, here, I had to come to Florida to help people get their enforcement. Before me, there was no access in the courts out here. I made that happen in a lawsuit in New York in the United States District Court. I've changed it for children with special needs. I've changed it for seniors in nursing homes, except what the governor's doing. What he did was wrong, and I told him. It's all on the website. Everything is there. I'm coming in this race because I really care about our country, and this is my home. And if I don't take care of my home, as a Christian, whether you're Christian or not, we believe that there's somebody greater than us. We didn't just appear. I know that our house is to be in order. So if we took that on the whole, our house, as the Bible tells us, that means we have to be in order here before we can give a hand to anyone else. I want America first. Our president is a good man who's doing good things. The difference between the other candidates that are throwing him up there, they're saying that I know the president. I know what he needs. He needs somebody to fight with him that has the same values. It's fair to say that I grew up in Queens and New York City, and the president came and I sat at the table for 30 years. That would say I know him better than anybody else. And, casually, he would talk about my organization. Good job, Darren. That's good. If you need any help, tell me. But I'm a guy that likes to do things on my own to show my own self and the character of me. Some folks call me the Puerto Rican Martin Luther King because of the work I've done for so many years. I don't quit. Sotomayor said, Darren, great job. Don't stop. America needs you. So this is my call in November. In November, I submitted in, and Rooney was supposed to meet me 3 times. You don't cancel on a citizen. Never. You work for me, I don't work for you. There's a lot of that going on out here. I went with Commander Gifford. Police officers should not be handling homeless and mentally ill. They burdened them beyond belief. They said, will you help us? Absolutely. Let me do what I do best. Solve these problems. The folks on the floor, and you see it, I'm sure you saw some of my interviews. I talk about the heart. I care about your family because I care about mine. My mother taught me good lessons, and those lessons ought to be good to one another. Be kind. If somebody needs something, if they're hungry and you can feed them, do it. Healthcare. My mother died from Obama didn't care. Now, if I'm elected on August 18th and I become the nominee, that means I'm going to be the congressman. I won't let your mother die from healthcare. I promise you, so help me God. I won't do it because your mother matters. I don't get mine, but you get yours. We're watching our country in despair, turmoil with the challenges we're facing. And I'm listening to guys tell me how they're going to fight with the president, for the president. They don't work for the president, neither do I. If I'm elected, I work for you, and I will serve you. I told everybody, again, I held up my phone, and I put it on my first BOPAC meeting. I said, this is now the citizens' hotline. No other candidate would do it. They won't do it. You know why? Because they don't want to be burdened with your call. But if I work for you, you should always be able to contact me, not go through 5 or 10 secretaries to get to me. I promise you this. I will always answer your call. I will listen to what you need, and we're going to have regular meetings. If I'm able to fix everything, the only way to do that is have my ear to the ground. So I can't be the absentee like Joe Crowley in New York that put AOC in. I'm not that kind of guy. If I can't do the job, I won't seek the responsibility of doing that job. That's the difference between me. We got a host of folks up here, and let me say this. Dan Severson and Cowell, they're good men. Why they fell so low in the polls and I was up on top? I understand why I am, because I have a national history. It's there. It's there from the good service I provided, recognized by all these presidents. There's the evidence. These folks presented evidence of poor character, bad leadership, and they abandoned their responsibility, even to the party, saying that they're going to do this, and they voted this. They know who they are. I don't have to say their names. I'm a voter too, and I wouldn't vote for anybody but Dan or Cowell. I wouldn't do it because we're in trouble now. Do I have plans? I have plans to create 65 million jobs on one aspect. The president has it. I email the White House every week. I give the president my thoughts. I've been doing that for 35 years. And the proof of it is on my walls. We have issues with water. Why do we have 68 projects? I'll tell you why. Because all of the state and local people open their pockets. And then you get this contract and that contract. Wait a second. Why do we have so many contracts and we still got questionable water? Because nobody's doing the job that we elected them to do. If they elect me on August 18th and they make me that absolute guy, I absolutely promise you, my right hand to God, I will not fail you. And you'll be able to call me. You'll say, oh, don't blow up the phone, because that would be crazy. Text me, tell me the urgency, and your congressman will answer, because that's what you hired me to do, and that's what I'm going to do. I promise you that. I will not fail you. I don't know how to fail. I come from New York.
All right, Darren. So, I mean, my other question I had was to talk about your priorities in office, and it sounds like you already touched on a lot of those, but, it sounds like two of them were disabled issues and also fighting for homeless veterans. So talk a little bit about both of those and what you plan to do if elected to office to further both those causes.
Well, healthcare is incorporated because you have mentally ill homeless on the street. Healthcare. So now you got a homeless problem and a healthcare problem in the same thing. One of the things I presented, and there's a recording of it in 2016. You think somebody would have did it just to even look good. Fake it, right? But the politics is so bad. They don't care about you or me. So we have to take this into consideration. We have abandoned properties that belong to the government, right? Actually, they belong to you and me. It's our tax dollars. Now, I went to Home Depot and Lowe's. I spoke to the CEOs. They said, Darren, we would definitely get behind that. We refurbish them, and then I'd call on citizens, and I'd be there myself. I know you'd come out for veterans. I'll bet money on it. You'll come grab a paintbrush. Habitat for Humanity by the former president. I met him, Jimmy Carter, at Reagan's funeral. We would do it. These are our veterans. Don't we care about them? Let me tell you, there is no caring from the panel. Did any one of them review all the footage? Not one of them spoke of the 1,000 homeless here. If they don't care about them here, if we were to send them to Congress, they're going to forget them there. We have to solve that problem. So we have abandoned properties. Now, I had a healthcare plan I gave to Bush, okay? Andy, write to me personally, Secretary Carter. I told him, and that's when they came up with that voucher for personal care. Bush came up with that. I wanted to take Medicare and Medicaid and make that a national insurance that's kind of like a 401k. We own it. We own it, and then we open it for affordable pricing to the working man. Instead of just disabled folks having it at 65. We can open it up. It'll also draw revenue. It was a no-brainer. It took me 10 minutes to think of. A lot of ideas. Does it need work? Yeah, but it's a place to start. You see, you have to have a heart for this country and a heart for the vulnerable. Now the vulnerable, why do you think it's a systemic problem? The answer is simple. The folks that we elected neglected. That's the answer. I won't. On August 18th, I'm going to prove it. And we will celebrate together. We will work together. I'm going to solve it. That's two issues. I gave you the homeless, we're going to use, and then we're going to get some other areas. And part of the job plan, 65 million jobs. You know what that means? 1.3 million jobs come to the state of Florida and around the country. And then I created the Civil Rights Police. I started it. It's part of the organization. That's going to be another job. That's going to bring another 40 million jobs around the country. Civil Rights Police, I'm not going to detail it because we have plagiarizers in this playing field on the Democratic side and the Republican side, because patriotism clearly is not in their heart. So now we're going to create another 40 million job that's going to oversee policing, and it's going to be citizens. Our Constitution says a well-regulated militia to watch over. That would be us. That would be you, and that would be me. Or maybe your son would sign up, and then he's the citizens police. He's watching over areas where there's discrimination, where there's challenge. A mentally ill person is there. The civil rights police show up because the person is debilitated. What's that going to do for the regular police? A lot. It's going to take the burden from them, and it's going to be a balance, and it's going to be a citizen's voice. It's got to go through police training. Tom Pieri, one of the top guys in the country, is a friend of mine. He's going to come and train individuals because it's going to have different levels. We're going to set up another branch to oversee the branch that's having controversy now. This is a no-brainer. But when you go to Congress, you have to work. You have to put things up. It's a responsibility. It's not a job. It's will you stand up, because it's going to take a lot of my life, but I have a term limits plan. No more than 10 years. I want to get out in 8. I want to get out in 8, and at the BOPAC, there's video footage. Some of the other folks tried to plagiarize it. It's plagiarism. My footprint is mine. So Dane Eagle tried to use it as his, and I called him out on it. I don't like that. Be a true American. Say what you mean and mean what you say. For 35 years, I've never failed. I will not fail you. If I can't do it, I'm asking the people, give me one chance. Give me one turn. One turn. Let me be your voice in Washington and watch what happens. They're going to hear you because I got a loud mouth. I've been the #1 advocate in the country. It's online. It's there. Go with what you know. Don't vote. Have a conscience. Don't use nepotism. Nepotism and corruption is going to be the destruction of this country. Just because you know some of the candidates, that's not enough. They got serious issues. Bribery, drunk driving, lying to the people, child pornographer working in an office. What is that? And then they deny it when there's evidence to the fact. We cannot use that. If we want to save this country and you want to help the president, have character, have integrity, have honesty, transparency. Do you want to make the president look good, or do you want to ruin the Republican Party and make us look like a den of thieves? I can't. If I wasn't in this race, I would either look at Dan or Cal. I wouldn't even consider the other ones because they threw themselves under the bus. We didn't do it. They did it. And here's one other thing. Whenever there's a pack of interest giving money and making commercials, that means they've been bought and paid for. Come on, my fellow Americans, please. Don't let anybody change your mind because they put a good commercial. If they can't demonstrate a history like me, that at least I tried. Give me a chance. Give me one chance, one term. If I don't live up to one thing, I'll resign and I'll sign a document to it. I will sign a document and I'll be out, but I won't fail. I don't know how to fail.
Well, I think that's going to be reassuring to a lot of people because right now, I think, we're dealing with monumental issues in this country. The last question I had asked you, to get your feedback on was, we're dealing with 3 different major national crises right now. We've got obviously the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a massive problem with unemployment due to what's happened, in the past few months with the pandemic. And then, thirdly, we have a social crisis. The following of the death of George Floyd has caused protests to erupt across the country. And, all of these things need answers. And I'm wondering, how do you feel like both your role in Congress and the federal government would be able to respond to each one of these crises that's, needing an answer?
That's a good question. The president, as you know, is limited. This Congress, as you clearly can see, they want to blame him for everything. If he farts, they want to blame him for the air pollution. They will. They will. But here's the deal. The president needs a guy like me to come in. We're New Yorkers. We think the same. New York is the education place of the country. And we've learned how corrupt they are there. We've learned. The governor and the mayor is responsible for the death and those social issues. Painting on the streets, what is that? When did we become uncivilized and reckless? Those are people and leaders letting them do this to the values that you and I hold near and dear, and the rest of America. So how do we start to fix it? First of all, the legislator is supposed to empower the people. That's my job. So knowing what I know as a street kid, that's the best kind of knowledge you can have. Agreed? Right? You got that. You've seen the worst and you've seen the best. How do we find a line in the middle? It's simple. We have to fix our police. That George Floyd was horrible. It was murder. And he had a uniform on. So that put a thought in everybody's head. But here's what that thought's got to be. That was one man who did that. And he must pay the price. We can't charge everybody for one man's error. So we got to have better training, better vetting. That costs money. You don't defund that and put people at risk. That would just be insane. My brother's a cop. My nephew's a cop. My future son-in-law just came out last October, and now he stands on the street with a shotgun. What has happened to this country? We have to strengthen our police. And how do we strengthen them? By training them better. By training them better and setting down guidelines. The president can't do that. He has no ability. That's my job. My job and my knowledge, more than that of all these folks, except Cal. Cal was a cop. He knows. I like him. They were good people. Listen, But when you have bad, just very important, again, I say this, when you have a bad following of not listening to the people, you're not good for the country. It's real simple. So that means you won't put your heart into it. I care about people. And when you're fighting like me, and you've seen people abused and mentally ill, even Eric Gardner, I wasn't in line with that. Eric Gardner, on the obvious, he's big, he's overweight. It would be fair to say, me looking, he's got a respiratory issue. No doubt about it. Most overweight people do. So now an advocate should have been there. I told this to de Blasio at the funeral of all the officers. I've been to them. I go as the police advocate, and I'm a 9/11 survivor. So I'm there with the ones who died from 9/11, friends of mine. So we're going to put things in place. Government should have a limited role. It's there to manage things for us that we, through the Congress, put in place. It's not here to run my life. It's here to help me, organize the things like the laws and the protections. So we're going to put more into our law enforcement, but we're going to come up with ideas that counteract the negativities. And we can. That's why, hence, civil rights police. Everybody has to watch everybody. We have a government. We have a government that's been challenged. So we have to, as the people, we have to step up. So again, to your question, stepping up is this. How do we fix it? Where we look at where it's broke, and now we change that method. We don't defund like these crazy radical left and right. We got to be centered as Americans. Some things take common sense, and some things take hard work. Who's willing to step up and really put their heart into it? Because if you do, okay, the president's starting to get tired eyes now. I know he's not sleeping well because he's got his hands full. Should I go in with the army? Yeah, the answer is yes. Yes. A 19-year-old boy was killed. Let me tell you this. Now, government, the local government, the governor, under the law of the Constitution, high crimes and misdemeanors, they partake in that. How? The mayor, like we had in New York, not Rudy, when we had Rudy, we had a mayor, and he's a friend. She has a police scanner, and she hears everything that's going on. She should have said, breach the wall and go in and get the kid. Go in and get the kid. She didn't. High crime and misdemeanor. Jail. I will make law that they will go to jail for it. No more nonsense. We can't tolerate it as a people. Peaceful protesting is a requirement of every citizen if there's an issue. Our forefathers wrote it out. Why is it so complicated? Because they don't like our president. I love my president. I'll take a bullet for my president. That's not an issue. That's the patriotic heart of mine. It doesn't matter who he is. It matters what he represents, you and me. If we don't stand for something, we will fall for everything. So we have to stop the nonsense. We have to come together, make real laws that protect us and the interest of what we represent. We have to stop that giveaway, bringing in refugees. One guy put a false comment that never spoke to me, says I despise refugees. My grandparents on my mother's side were immigrants. I'm a minority. I'm Puerto Rican and Italian. I get discriminated. I was discriminated in this race by Lee County. They didn't have me. They said they couldn't find me. That's funny. People send me donations from Chicago, Virginia, all around. We have to fix it and take a hold of it. Less government, though. Not more government. Less government, but there has to be some government oversight because you got money involved. And the states are getting it. The states did not allocate the appropriate monies for education, special needs education. So me as a congressman will have a better grip for the families with disabled. And we know there's a lot of disabled children with autism. I fought them in Collier County. Go get the video, okay? I was the only candidate that talks about everybody. I said, let me give you another perspective to the commissioners. A disabled child with autism cannot wear a mask. And you probably know why that is, right? Sensory issues. You're forcing a child against his will, violating and infringing on his constitutional right. And he's a minor. But here's the thing. The Constitution doesn't know an age. It knows his status, American citizen. And they infringed on that right. And I made another video. They're not going to do it. Now, my lawyer, chief counsel, is getting ready to sue them. We will take them down because that right of that independence is so important. And some of our candidates are just telling good stories, but not talking about the real problems, the issues that we care about. I care about it. I know
getting ready to, you said you have you're getting ready to sue over the Collier County
Collier
Magistrate?
County. Yep. I might join Alfie's motion. I could do it myself. I'm an expert in lay evidence, so I can do it, and I will. You know, what they did was reckless. They're trying to agree with a political pattern to go against the structure of this country. Ripping down. I celebrate Columbus Day. I celebrate Latino holidays. You're telling me that's coming down? Our forefathers didn't want that. Listen, good, bad, or indifferent, they are a stamp in time. Without a past, you have no future. You have no direction. You'd be screwed up geographically. We have to stop that nonsense. We did not there for praise. They're there for recognition of that time and period. So, you know, we got a lot of folks that are talking about issues that don't matter, playing a political stage. For me, this is not a political stage. This is a life or death. We are challenged that we're in a crisis of civil war. And you got a fueled energy of people that are coming against the common man and woman with the common goals, a peaceful America.
One last thing I was hoping to have you comment on, and that is it has to do with the response to everything that's going on right now in this country. I mean, right now, the Senate is debating on the CARES Act, or another iteration of it, to bring help to Americans across the country who are struggling both with unemployment and trying to provide more relief for testing and pandemic relief. So right now the Senate is debating it, but it's going to come to the Congress, and I know that
they're doing that today.
The Democrats and the Republicans are very far apart on what they're hoping to see come out of that next bill. I mean, talk about, from someone who is potentially going to be a member of Congress come November, what type of priorities do you think people, that our current legislative officials have, what responsibility do they have right now to,
let's look at the current legislators. They've done nothing. Nothing. They didn't handle serious problems like homelessness and healthcare and mental illness, systemic problem. They've done nothing. So we know they're do nothing elected, both Republican and Democrat. I have no faith in them as a citizen here and an advocate that's been coming here for 20 years. I've been coming here to help the problem with the disabled here. Before I came, you didn't have the accommodations you have now. I put those in place, fighting for the homeless veterans and mental illness, and you still have a problem with David Lawrence Center. But let's move up, because in this crisis with these stimulus checks, emergency aid, it's really not a stimulus, it's aid to get past this national crisis. So now folks didn't get checks. That's a problem. How many homeless folks got? None of them got it. None of them got it. And it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. If they would have put in temporary housing in place, some people that really needed it would have had it. If they put them in a facility, took their names, those people would have a few bucks in their pocket, and it would have made $1,200. It's not a whole bunch, but over here, and some of and they're reasonable buying things here. It's very good here. I love it here. I love it here. I wouldn't be any place in the world. I would never go back to New York if you gave me a penthouse in Trump Tower, because I don't want to be in New York. But now, you see, we have to make a stimulus that helps the small business. That's the heart of Florida here. That's the heart. Those restaurants and those businesses, they need help. And because there was so much management on the Democratic side, folks didn't get it. And then you had dead people getting checks. I have friends call me in New York. My father's dead. He got a check. I said, send it back. Send a note to the president. Send it to the White House. So we have to